Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about setting up your first cut with something that you drop in QCAD. This is one in a line of pieces that we're going to be doing that sort of break down design to Sheetcam to Mach 3. We won't be actually running these cuts, but we will be running everything up to Mach 3 where we started. We'll then put out another series of videos that talk a little bit more about how to take it from the Mach 3 all the way to the final cut. So when you start cutting, a lot of that's just very simple. You load the G code and you get started, but we really want to focus on the more difficult, or tends to be the most difficult side, which is the computer side, specifically running the design software. So we're going to start off with a basic design in QCAD here. Alright, so you'll notice first thing we're going to see is we have a series of numbers like a ruler across the top. We can change those dimensions. Go to the Design Center and you'll find that we have a series of videos that talk about changing the dimensions. I believe it's just one video that walks through that. So if you want to change the way you perceive your dimensions, you can absolutely do that. For the sake of this video, we won't. Alright, so one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to create a very basic shape. So we're going to go to this tool over here. This is the shape tools. Shape tools give us the option when we click on the shape tool. So when we click on this and it says shape tool, we can click on it and we see this little black triangle that faces to the left. We can click that to go back to the main menu. But I'm going to go ahead and go to my shape tools, and we have a series of tools here, all of them with black lines and red dots, and even some with red lines. The black lines are just denoting what type of shape it is, and the red dots or the red lines represent what we call out or click. So for instance, when I say rectangle and it just has the two red dots, what that means is when I click the first time and then click a second time, it makes a rectangle based off of the two clicks, the 2 points. It's a point-to-point rectangle. I'm going to hit Control Z, and I'm going to go back to rectangle with size. Now you notice that there was only one red dot there. That means when I click once, it places the shape. And there we go. Now I have a shape, and you can see here that on my width and height, it's called out up here at 10 and 10. Let's go back to this tool here, rectangle. Notice that it only has one thing. It has a radius of 1 and it's not selected. So if I wanted to make something with a radius corner, let's see what this does. Yep, it gives us a radius corner of 1 inch radius. But we don't want to do that. I'm going to remove that here. Nope, there we go. And we're going to go back to rectangle with size, and there we go. We can now call that out. So if I wanted a 4 by 6 shape, I can just call out 4 by 6, and there we have it. But we're not going to be doing that here. Let's make something smaller. I'm going to go ahead and delete these here, 1 and 2. So what I've done there, just to make sure that we've clarified this, is I've gone to my pointer tool. Anytime I want to select something to delete something, I always have to go back to my pointer tool in QCAD. Think of it as pulling the tool out of your tool chest. In my mind, it comes down to the fact that I'm not going to use a hammer to sweep the garage floor, per se. I want to use a broom for that. So I have to put away the hammer and grab the broom. And therefore I can use that. Similarly, in the programs, we have to put away whatever tools in our mouse hand in order to start using or doing something else. So I have to put away that and click my pointer tool, click, and I'm hitting clicking and dragging. Now, this is the same action that we took when making a box earlier, but you'll notice that this is a green box on my screen. You know, that's less than usual, but we're just going to click, make a box around what we want to select. And you notice that by selecting it, by making this box around this, I have each of my vectors lit up in red and blue dots with red lines. I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard to remove those. One other thing that I'll point out while I'm designing in QCAD is I'm building everything off of reference points. I don't have to be at 0, 0 to design what I want, because when I take it over to the computer, it's just going to recognize what I've built in relation to itself on the screen. So you'll see that in action here, because I'm at 74 and 24 in open space. We're going to make a 6 by 6 square here. Let's go ahead and drop this in. 6 by 6 square, and I'm going to reference off of the center point here. I'm just going to click a random dot. Make sure it locks on the grid. See where it says grid there? Click. Done. All right, now I'm going to change my height and width to 4 inches, and I'll show you why that is the case here in a moment. I'm going to be building a flange here that, let's say, in theory, attaches to a wall or a floor, and it has 4 half-inch bolts that have to be 1 inch off the edge of the piece. So this is 1 inch distance based off of how I've built this. So if this is 6 inches here, let's go ahead and call this out. You won't be doing this as you're working unless you choose to do so, but I'm going to call these out as I work with it. So this is, oops, there we go. We're going to do that again. All right. So that's 6 inches right there. Oh, and we're going to go back and do the vertical one. And this is 4 inches right here. So you'll see 4 inches there, 6 inches there. Perfect. So now we can see what we're doing. So that being said, from here to here is 1 inch. So if I needed to center my holes off of 1 inch off the sides, by building a 4-inch box in the middle, I can just use these corners as reference and then just delete the interior box once I'm done. So let's go ahead and go back, and this is our main menu again. So I'm going to go to my circle tools, and there's a lot of different options here. Here's a point-to-point circle, a 2-point circle here. Here is one called center diameter, and this is one that I'm going to use quite a bit here. If it's half-inch holes, what I'm going to do is actually compensate for that a little with the plasma cutter and the bolt holes. I'm just going to go 0.5. Let's go 5.2 here. All right, just give us a little bit of flex there, and I'm referencing off the middle because I can go middle, top right, bottom left. However I want to reference off of the circle, I am going to be referencing off the middle because that's what I'm using to set my points, off the middle of the circle. All right, so I'm going to set that here. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and there's 4 half-inch circles. Beauty. All right. Let's go ahead and change this now to a 2-inch. I'm going to have a 2-inch pipe here that I'm going to be attaching to it. And we'll set that smack dab in the center there. Off of the same dot that we made this square and this square. I'm going to go ahead and get back to my pointer tool here. Now that I'm back in my pointer tool, I can click and delete on my keyboard each line that I don't want to keep. Oh, there we go. And there we go. Perfect. All right, so I have this shape here. Now let's go ahead and make another set of small changes here. I want to go ahead and radius off these corners. Why? Because we can. So we're going to go to modify. We're going to go to round. And because this is a 6-inch by 6-inch, I'm thinking a good radius is going to be something like 0.5. It'll match the radius of the holes. So we're just going to click on the line that we want to radius on, and then move our mouse to the line that we want it to radius to. And you notice as I move my mouse over to that line, on the underside of that line, or on the side that I want to make this this radius, it'll show me where I'm going to radius. If I move my mouse above it, it'll move the radius above it. So we're going to go ahead and put that down there. Perfect. I'm going to click, move my mouse over to the underside of the line on, or the inside of this line, and click to place. Again, I'm going to just keep doing that. Beautiful. So now I have my shape. We're going to go ahead and save this and bring this over to Sheetcam. Great. So now we're in Sheetcam here. We've saved that previous file. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is open up the new file here. So I'm going to go to File and select New Part. And by hitting New Part, it's going to ask me a question. Do I want to import a drawing into this part? You'll hit Yes, and then you're going to find that part. I'm going to go ahead and grab that part here. So I went and clicked on that part. I paused the video for a second while I grabbed all of that. I just selected the part that I want, and I have scaling here for DXF, because this is a DXF file that I'm bringing in, and I have metric, inch, and custom. I designed this part in inches, so it's going to be in inches. My drawing position is going to be the bottom left-hand corner, so I've selected the bottom left-hand corner. And then I hit OK. And then it imports this part. So that looks pretty good for me right now. Now I know that for the structure that I'm building, I'm going to need at least 4 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate these now. Easiest way for me to do that is go to the nesting tool, right-click on the part, and hit multiple duplicate. And now I can just place 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you'll notice that I'm actually giving myself a little bit of space. And I'm going to hit cancel. I right-clicked and hit cancel in order to get out of that tool. Now you're going to notice that I have now 4 of them on my screen, and I gave myself enough space that when the plasma cutter goes to cut, there's a little bit of material left there so that I don't end up experiencing any problems with the plasma cutter cutting into the part next to it or what have you. I just want to make sure that that's correct. And what I want to do with my nesting tool is click on the primary part, the first part in here. You'll notice that every time I click on this, its name will light up on this screen. So if I were to click on the, let's say click on the pipeline here, it lights up this first one, and we want to make sure that we're selecting this first shape, because what we're about to do is put an operation onto it. We're going to tell the plasma cutter how we want this to cut. We're going to tell the CNC machine how we're going to cut it, and we want to be on this primary one because all of the duplicates that come out will have the same operation as a primary one. Okay, so we've done that. Pipelines, the first one is selected. We're going to go back to our pointer tool. Now, if we don't go back to our pointer tool, we're going to get to the point where we can't select anything in here, and that's not going to be good for anyone. So we're going to go to our pointer tool, go to Operation, and go to Plasma Cut. Now, we're going to go ahead and set up this for an outside offset. We cover this in a couple other videos, but outside offset just means that it's going to cut the outside of any red line and the inside of any yellow line, because it recognizes red as an outside shape and yellow as an inside shape. I'm going to go ahead and select the layer, layer 0. Key point here is always select the layer. Always select the layer. Perfect. Next one is I'm going to go ahead and choose a tool. I want to simulate this on 16 gauge, but if I wanted to, I can select whatever tooling I do have. Actually, let's go with 1/4 inch mild steel here. With the 45 XP, I have this set to 40 inches a minute here. Depending on your plasma cutter, you're going to make adjustments to this based off of the specs given to you in the handbook. And if not, then we also have those tool sets downloaded onto your computer already. If you have one of the tables where you purchased a computer directly from us, we preload all of those. But if you don't have those tool sets, those are also available on the updates and upgrades page on the customer portal. We're not going to worry about max chain length here. That's just not something I would do in particular with this file in general here. The next one is going to be overcut. Overcut's the ability of the machine to cut back over where it started its cut in order to make sure that you have a nice clean line there. Overcut's a really useful tool, particularly on holes, because it does improve the cut quality of holes. Next one, don't worry about path rules here. As this computer is also used for experimentation here, I created a path rule called Bob, and we should hopefully be including more things in the future involving path rules. Lead in and lead out, we're going to go ahead and set those to arc in, arc out. And there's one rule with lead in and lead out. We want to make sure that the length of the lead in and lead out is at least equal to the thickness of the material. 1/4 inch mild steel, 1/4 inch lead in, lead out. I think that's perfectly fine. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. And perfect. Now we have a green border around our part. And it looks pretty good. If you don't have a green border around your part, I would also make sure that all of these items are selected. Because if this one, let's say show true width, isn't selected, you won't see anything. If you don't have direction set, if you don't have, you can actually start to remove everything to the point where you can't see any of your path. And that's going to be a problem for you. So I want to make sure that every single one of your lines are in fact, and every single one of your viewports are active. Now we have our lead in and lead out present here. We have all of our individual lead ins on these holes in the center. Okay, that looks good to me. Yeah, all right. And if I were to go to my nesting tool, I can actually see the path that it'll take, starting down here, and it'll go ahead and make all of these cuts. I like it. Yep, looks like it's starting here, going here, making a circle, moving out, doing here, 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 moving up and over, doing the outside of this shape, coming back, and then following this path until it finally ends up at 0 over here. Really, really cool to be able to watch what you're doing and watch how this program is going to run. If I wanted to change the location of a start, let's say this is too close to this edge here, I'll just hit the S plus tool and move the S plus to the corner there. Perfect. Move the start point there, and there you go. Now all of them, all of your shapes, have changed their start location to that top right corner. That's exactly how we like to see it. So let's go back to pointer tool, and then now that we've done this, now that we've duplicated our parts, we can go ahead and go to File and hit Run Post Processor, and this will turn it into G-code, where you would then take that over to Mach 3 to run it. So there you go, from design to where we would take it over to Mach 3. So you're going to hit Run Post Processor, save it, and the one thing is you can't, or you shouldn't have the code that you're working on here also open in Mach 3. Make sure that that's not the case, otherwise it's going to give you an error. We're going to go ahead and make a couple more of these, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out and we'll get you running. Thank you.